how they teach people to read palms is they make ink prints and they put your hands up with these ink prints up on a screen, and they teach you this headline, this is the heart line, this is the love line, and lifeline, and all these lines, and they have meaning. People always ask me, do you ever see death? Do you ever talk about that?
So kia ora, here we are back again. I've just been chatting with Wendy Willow, and we've been talking all about the journey that she went on with losing her husband. He was unwell for 8.5 years, and Wendy kindly shared the experience that she went through with going through his death, what it was like at the end stages there, but also after he passed or transitioned, he started to share symbols and messages from the other side and share with Wendy that he was okay. So we've just recorded this beautiful episode around that. That is possibly the one just in front of this episode. So if you didn't get that, just go back. I'll also put a link to that down in the show notes. But Wendy is also a palm reader, and she's very connected intuitively. She is doing some amazing work there. And I wanted to chat with Wendy about that. So we're just doing a quick little bonus episode, very unplanned, not something that we thought we were going to do, but here we are doing this just to share a little bit more about that. So Wendy Willow, welcome back to the Let's Talk Near Death podcast. I think we only left about 4 minutes ago. We pushed stop on the recording, but here we are back again. And I don't even know where to start with this. Palm reading, palmistry, being an intuitive palm reader. Can you tell us some information about this? How does it work? What's that like? Teach us, if you will.
Well. This is a very ancient practice going back, I don't know, thousands of years. And initially it was done for personality counseling. It wasn't done for fortune telling. And this is why I was interested in it, because I like to read people. I've been doing it on an intuitive level, I guess, all my life, but not really having a specific focus. Any of you out there who are mothers have this intuition about your children, about your family. And it was, I think, when my children were all in high school. I have 3. They were in high school at the time. And my next door neighbor said to me, well, let's go for, there's a palmistry center downtown Montreal where I was living at the time. There's a workshop. And I said, so what do you want to learn that for? Isn't it all fake? And she said, no, it's not fake at all. She said, let's just go. It'll be interesting. So I went along for the ride. And oh my God, I was blown away. It was so fascinating how they teach people to read palms is they make ink prints and they put your hands up with these ink prints up on a screen, and they teach you this headline, this is the heart line, this is the love line, and lifeline, and all these lines, and they have meaning. But so I learned the basics. I learned the structure of what the lines and the signs, crosses and symbols, and the energy in somebody's hand. And I learned that way, but there seemed to be a clashing within me. It's like, no, I can't just look at a screen and read somebody's palm. I have to touch, I have to feel. I'm kinesthetic. That's how I am in this world. And so what I did was I just grabbed everybody's palm that I could, neighbors and friends and people in the street. And I had a bookstore at the time, and people walking into the bookstore, I'd say, oh, you want a palm reading? Yeah, sure. So, because it was a new age bookstore. So I learned to read by doing, but by feeling the person's energy. And to me, that would bring in the intuition. You can see, for example, a long lifeline. Does that mean someone is going to have a long life? Not necessarily. What I would do is touch that part of their palm, and I would have more of an intuition. Okay, yes, you have a long life, or you're going to be into, maybe 80s, or I couldn't really give a number, or I wouldn't. But you'd live a nice long life, or yes, you have a very long lifeline, but I don't really know how long you're going to live. And intuitively, I would feel, maybe they're going to live up to retirement or something, but not beyond that. So why the long lifeline? More because they would make long-term plans and goals. So, and the same with the heart line. The heart line can be very long and sensitive and loving, and yet that person may not have developed to the point where they are loving. They may have put barriers around themselves. There's just so much more to it than the actual lines. People always ask me, do you ever see death? Do you ever talk about that?
I was so going to ask you that.
And I never, ever, ever predict death, because what if I'm wrong? What have you done to this person? You know, there was only once, oh, twice actually, but once when I saw a person actually dying. And this was somebody who, we were actually together we went to Sedona, Arizona. She was a friend of mine. And we were sitting under a tree, and she said, can you read my palm? Now, I usually don't read friends because I just don't. I know too much about them. I don't want it to influence my reading. But I could see that she was really wanting this done. And I thought, okay, well, whatever's going on in her, she may need a bit of guidance or reassurance. So I took her palm and I saw black, and I thought, oh, shoot. Oh, shoot, now what do I do? And I knew that she had cancer, but it was in remission. So I just said to her, you know, next year you're going to be starting a new chapter. And that's all I said. And then she wanted to know something about her mother and, you know, family stuff. I could do that, but I was not going to say, well, you know, next year you're not going to be here. I mean, I just can't. I won't. And what if I was wrong? Supposing there was a miracle treatment and she survived. Oh, well, Wendy said I was going to die. No, you just don't. There was another incident where this woman came into my shop, and her aura was so dark, very dark, and she was frightened. And I said, what's wrong? And she said, well, I've just moved to a new neighborhood. And she said, I just don't feel right here. I feel frightened all the time. And I said, well, is there anything, you know, somebody move into your neighborhood who's not nice or a criminal? And she said, I can't really tell you, but there is something there. And she said, can you look at my palm and see if I'm going to be killed? I was like, oh my God, what do I say? Yeah, I mean, it was really, really scary. And so I just said, well, I think even though you've just moved in, if you're not comfortable in this neighborhood, I would strongly suggest that you move somewhere else, even temporarily. And she looked at me and she said, that's really what I want to do, but I wanted confirmation that I'm not going crazy and imagining things. I said, no, you're not. And I said, the sooner the better. I don't know what happened, but other than that, I use palmistry as a guide. You know, as it was way back in ancient times. It's to help people. People come, they have, you know, they're at a crossroads. They need to know which way is the best way for them. And generally what I like to do is say, well, what feels right? What are you feeling? Because often the answers lie within. I mean, all the time. I can't really tell a person what to do, and I don't want to. It's more like, what is your gut feeling? What is leading you? What is guiding you? And for the younger generation, I was at a university, I think it was Halloween or something. They had tarot cards and palm readers, and a university. Well, it's all about their friends and their studies. So, you know, and I remember this one boy in particular, he was in a program of study he hated. And yet his family wanted him to be in that particular program of study. I forget what it was, some political science or something, and he really wanted to do more of the arts. So for him, it was a real struggle on doing what my family wants, and they've sent me here, or doing what I want. And I find a lot of times people have this internal struggle, whether it's love, career, home, family, whatever the situation is, and they just need somebody to sort of bring it all into the open and suggest, you know, to do this or to do that, or just to give them some ideas of where they, you know, the best course of action to take. So the other thing too is the numerology readings that I do. When I do a palm reading, I like to look at people's numbers. Now, again, this is a very ancient practice, going way back to the Greeks, to Pythagoras and whoever else. And the theory is that we are born on a certain day at a certain time, and each number has a specific vibration. So let's say, for example, I add up your date of birth and it becomes a 3. A 3 is a creative number. So this is your life path, or your birth path, is to create, do a lot of creating in this particular life that you're in. And this is kind of in a nutshell. And so since COVID happened and I couldn't do palmistry anymore, I decided to give free numerology readings online. And well, I would like to offer it to anybody. If you go on my website, wendywillowauthor.com, and there's a contact form. Just send me a little email and give me your date of birth, and I will add up your numbers and I will give you a channeled numerology reading. Now, I've studied the numbers. It's like palmistry. I've studied the numbers. That's the framework. That's the structure. I use my intuition to give the proper reading. To give you just a bit of an idea of the numbers for people that don't have any idea, a number 1 is a leader. Makes sense? Somebody whose date of birth adds up to a 1, they should be leading. It's a magician. It's a pathfinder. It's somebody who's very unique. And it corresponds with a tarot as well. The magician in the tarot is the 1. The 2, you would think, is a helper, a help person, a support person. 3, as I said before, is creativity. 4 is 4 quarters of a table. It's foundations. 4 quarters of a table, for directions, 4 sides of a box. They're people that like to do things step by step by step. 5 is all about communications. 6 is about love and family and harmony. 7 is a very spiritual sign. And 8 is power and abundance. 9 is completion of a cycle. And then you start all over again. I mean, I could talk for hours on numerology. We don't have hours. But just to give you a little bit of how working with the energies and the intuition will produce a pretty good, accurate reading. And if something doesn't feel right to me, I'll say it. I'll say, I'm picking up this, that your uncle wants to send you a message, or that your somebody at work is bothering you. It doesn't feel right. Can you expand on it? Is this true? Is it not? And, they'll say, no, it's not. Okay, so let's move on. I've done something wrong. But when it comes through really strong, yes, then I know for sure.
I love that you have the intuitive piece behind it, because we can go and read palms, we can read numbers, but without that intuitive piece behind it, it's almost like reading out of a textbook, isn't it? It's very standardized. It doesn't have that personal connection to our wider world.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
that. Yeah. Now, just a couple of questions, and these might seem really silly. I don't know. We've got listeners all over. Some are at very different stages of understanding how this all works. When you look at your palm, and yes, I had my hands down. If you saw me, I was looking at my palms as you were talking, looking for lines.
Well, that's what you were doing.
Yeah, totally engaged in what you're saying, but I was just looking at my hands going, oh, yeah. Are our palms like our fingerprints, that they don't ever change, that they're unique to us?
Oh,
are there any two palms the same? Do palms change?
Palms change, sure.
Wow.
There are major lines. The heart line. I wonder if you can see mine. I guess you probably can't.
Oh,
the heart
not
line,
really.
the head line, okay, and the lifeline. Those are the major lines, and they may never change. They may change a little bit, but they're harder to change. Now, you've got all kinds of minor lines, which is communication line, and I was going to say rich line. What do you call that? Money line, finance line. I forget what else. There's tons of them. The destiny line and the children's lines, the marriage lines. Those are very interesting too. I have seen children's lines where somebody has, let's say, 4, and they say, well, I've only got 2 children. So either 2 more are coming, or they've had a miscarriage, or for some people that have no children, yet they have children's lines, it's birth of a creative idea, something very strong and special. So you can interpret them however it works, however you feel. But so going back to, it's when you choose to change your attitude towards something, then your lines will change because you change your attitude. Let's say you have a finance line that's very short, meaning that you're not going to have very much money in this life. So you either look at that and say, okay, I'm never going to have a good amount of money. I'm always going to struggle. Or you can go out and say, well, wait a minute. That's not how I want to live my life. I am going to learn all I can about whatever, investing or a different career or whatever. And I'm going to learn all about that. I'm going to put my mind into that. And I want to change. So if you are convinced that you can make a change in your life, then ultimately your line will grow. It will change. Now, it does take time.
Amazing.
But it's everything. It's like your brain is the computer and your palms are the printout. So whatever you're thinking, whatever you're doing, whatever your attitudes and habits are, it's going to be reflected in your palm for everybody to see.
Yeah, wow. I'm looking, look, now I've actually drawn, keep my hand up, I've actually drawn the lines on. I don't know if you can see that as I'm talking. I was having a look. So yeah, I'm really curious because I've never really gotten into any of this. I haven't looked into it. I've always been quite curious. Same with numerology, quite curious. I've never had my palms read, I don't think. I've never done a numerology reading. I don't know. Sign me up. So yes, if you want to go and get a reading, I'm going to put a clause on that just for Wendy, for you, because I'm aware quite a few people could get in touch with you. There may be limited numbers and it's up to Wendy's discretion as to whether she will go ahead with that. But yes, the link to do that's down below. It's Wendy's website. Okay. There'll be a contact form. Go and do it. Okay, back to my questions. So your lines I'm absolutely blown away by this. Your lines can change based on the outcome of your life and how things change. And then I guess it's where you put your focus and your energy in your life, those things tend to grow. So if you focus on learning how to be really financially savvy, your financial line might grow. Yes. This is amazing. Yeah. Okay. My other question was, is it like a fingerprint that it's very unique to you? Can two people have the same palm?
No, never. It's very unique. And what else is a little strange, or I thought in the beginning, okay, first of all, when you read somebody's palms, you start with the not dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, I look at the left hand because that's the past and that's who you are inside. Your right hand will talk about what will happen in the future or what may happen, and also the face that you show the outside world. So if I want to go more into the inner person, it's the left hand, the non-dominant hand, and the right hand would be, okay, where are we going? What are we doing? Job-wise, career-wise, whatever. And sometimes, very rarely, I see two palms that are very different. So it's almost like there's a duality. There's two people in that particular person. And I've told them, I said, the shape of this hand is very different from that one. Because if you look at your palms, the lines are basically the same. There are a few differences, but they are basically the same. But the first time I was faced with somebody that had two completely different hands, I just about freaked out. I said, wow. So I went ahead and I told them, I said, it's very different. Anyway, sometimes that person has struggled very much with who they really are and who they are expected to be. Sometimes, and I believe this is more of a karmic thing. They have come here to do something in this world, and they have something else to do. It's almost like I keep saying, a duality, like a twin, but the twins are in one body. I don't really know how to explain it, but that's the feeling that I got from reading. And it hasn't been very many people. But, going back to your question, unique, yes, absolutely unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So interesting. I'm wondering whether that could be an example where we talk about having twin flame souls, or we've even talked about walk-ins in the past episodes where potentially there's an exit point and another spirit comes in, another soul comes in to complete a lifetime. My mind is just rambling through all of these different options now where you're seeing that. And then I'm also thinking the other side of that, maybe could that be an example of where there is some kind of mental disorder or mental health issue where there's I'm thinking schizophrenia, something like that. I hope
Yeah,
this is,
that's
I don't mean this
possible.
disrespectfully in any way,
No.
but just wondering if that could be showing up somewhere.
Yeah, that I usually see on the headline, and it's generally broken. If you look at your headline, if there's not
Is that,
yours, but
well, actually, can we have a look? Because you've already tapped on my next question. I'm quite far down the track on questions here. My next question was, are the left and the right hand the same? But I've actually written now on my left hand, because I can only write on one hand, that's your past. So which one is the headline? Which one is the lifeline?
okay. The
Are you
lifeline,
okay to do this?
yeah, the lifeline starts under your pointer finger, and it goes down into your palm here. That's the lifeline.
Okay,
Starts
so
here.
if I come, so I have to hold my hand open a bit.
Yeah,
Oh
and
gosh, now I
yours.
can't angle. If I hand now,
Yeah,
I need to do the talking. There we go. I've got.
yeah, and I see there's a break in yours, and I know
This is my
why.
question. This is my
Yeah,
question, because I don't have it. Oh, I can't draw on there, but I don't have a break on this
yeah,
hand.
yeah.
Is that
And
a near-death experience?
that's what yes, and I know that because from you. I'm not
Yeah, exactly.
I
Exactly.
knew that, but had I not known that, I would have been a little concerned about telling you, like, oh my goodness, this is a very traumatic thing you've gone through, so much so that it's broken your lifeline. The good thing is that your lifeline continues after the break. And
Yeah.
that
Well,
is
actually, sorry, carry on.
no, that's
I'm so
really
excited.
what?
Okay, it carries on. I can't turn it so you can see it probably. It carries
No,
on,
I
but do
see
you
it.
see how far up? I've got two in parallel for a while, and then the
Yeah,
one stops and the other one takes over.
yeah, yeah, and that's
So,
fine. It's just extra help, a guardian angel, extra energy to help you with what you went through. And the thing that's important is to see the length, like how far down it goes. And I don't mean you're going to live till you're 105. I just mean that the length after the break is long
mm,
enough and deep enough that you will have a normal rest of your life,
mm,
whatever the years happen to be. But that's what's really important. That's what I was saying before. Yeah, it's not the break.
yeah,
We all go through trauma.
yeah,
But just to know that you've come out of it and that you can continue on your path very strong. That's what's important.
yeah. Gosh, it's really interesting, and because I just don't have it on the right, I can
Oh
put my
yeah,
hand up. I can't draw it, but
that's your right.
um, yeah, this is my right hand.
Okay, so
I've got,
that's where you're going. Basically, if you're
yeah,
right-handed, yeah. And that's all
yeah.
fine. That's a beautiful, well-balanced palm.
Oh, yay. That's good news.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the left hand is the past, the right hand is the future. Can we say, is it that black and white?
No. With people, nothing is absolute. This is generally the way we read palms is your dominant, the hand you write with, generally the right hand, is where you're going in life and the mask that you wear that you want people to see. Your left hand is who you are inside and where you've come from. Now that's a
Wow.
generalization. Okay. Now I have seen people who are the exact opposite. They're right-handed, and yet I'm reading their left hand as where they're going in life, and their right
Oh,
hand
wow.
as passive. Yeah, it's again, it's rare. It's like people who are left-handed. There's not as many in this world as
Yeah.
right-handed people. Well, it's the same thing. Sometimes it just seems to be reversed. So I have to, again, it's intuition because
Mm.
You go into reading a palm and say, well, wait a minute. This feels like it's happened to you already. And they'll say, well, yes, okay, but it's in your right hand. And sometimes people will say, well, I'm ambidextrous, or I really am left-handed, but I was forced to use the right hand. That happens too. But sometimes there's just no rhyme or reason. And that's the way it appears on their palms.
Wow, it's so interesting. And I'm thinking of previous topics that we've covered with things like pre-birth planning, how we go and we plan out our lifetime before we come here. We choose our parents, we choose our environment, we choose different experiences that we're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're born, and a newborn has all of these little hand lines, don't they? I'm like nearly sure, and then my brain's tricking me going, maybe they don't. They must do. I know there's a bit of chub on them sometimes. They're a little bit fluffy.
Yeah, they do. And I actually have a chapter in my book Reading Between the Lines, a very short chapter when my first grandchild was born, called Do Babies Have Lines on Their Palms? Because I was thinking the same thing. I wanted to read this little newborn, and I thought, but she doesn't have a past. She's just born.
Yeah, so how does that work?
She definitely, people do have, lines on both hands. And because I believe in past lives, I believe that that's basically what's in the non-dominant hand. And I think it's also more of an expression of who that baby is inside. And their dominant hand is more, okay, this is the direction that you're going in. So it's not necessarily a past because they're newborn. It's more of an internal, let's say, nice long psychologist headline. Very long headline means you understand people, you're good at writing, you're empathetic. So a baby born with a long headline, that's what they have internally, or from a past life, or both. Because not everyone believes in past lives. I do. I really do. So I think that's how to explain it. And then, because they're just brand new, the dominant hand, which is generally the right, that's where they're going to be going or heading to. And the lines will change depending on their environment and who's bringing them up. So it is interesting.
And no, it really is, because I had never considered the left and the right were different. I'd never considered that those lines can change. What about feet? Are there the same type of things on? Can you read feet? I hope this isn't a too oddball question, but my mind is in overdrive.
I think it would be fun, and I have thought about it. I haven't done anything about it.
Now I don't know at my feet.
Have you ever had a reflexology treatment?
No, because I'm hyper ticklish. Oh, okay. My husband bought me a massage voucher for a present once, and I thought, oh my goodness, oh no. And I'm just not somebody who particularly enjoys all the pampering and things like that. So the sort of getting anyone who's going to touch my feet, no, thank you. So no, I haven't.
Okay. So there are areas in the feet that correspond to areas of the body. That's what it's all about. So, and that actually, I had a reflexology treatment. A friend of mine was doing it. And I thought, I wonder if I could read the feet, but I never really pursued it. So I don't know.
I don't know. It's something to think about, having a little look now. There seem to be quite a few lines on the feet. I don't know if it's because I don't wear shoes all that much or as much as others. I'm in barefoot right now, actually.
Yeah, me too.
I think it would be quite tricky on the feet. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, Wendy, thank you very much. A very impromptu little discussion. Is there anything else you think that might be interesting to share around the palmistry, around how numerology might fit into that, or is there anything we've missed on our very basic 101 introduction into palmistry?
Oh, there's so much more, but
I'm sure there is.
Just as a taste, the only thing I can really think of, and this is a generality for everything, is just trust your inner feelings. Your palmistry and numerology, tarot card reading, they're all guidance, but ultimately, what you really need. Sometimes you need a bit of help bringing it to the surface, And that's why we're all connected. That's why we're all here, to help one another. And I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you very much. If you want to get one of those readings, go down, get in touch with Wendy. I encourage you to do that. I'm going to put my name down very, very soon. And yes, Wendy Willow, thank you so much once again. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Christy. It's been fun.